Hello and welcome to Breakaway with Dawn and Friends. Today, I want to discuss self love. So, I asked Claudia to join me again, and we're just gonna wing it and talk about it because I feel I see it more and more within people that I do help on reality TV, at work. I feel I just see it everywhere. So, today, I just want to remind everyone you have an incredible power if you have self love.
Mhm.
And it isn't just a fleeting feeling, it's a
Right.
deep and profound understanding of your
Mhm.
worth, your strengths, and your journey.
Mhm.
So I did post about that today because it's been, with me. And so I thought this would be a really, good topic because I do feel that if you can have that at your core, the center of your life, like I feel that you would be happier. You'll shine within, it'll come out, it is infectious, right? So I just
Yeah.
feel that if people just love themselves more, and then too, I think that'll give them the grace to be more loving to others, right? So
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
just thought this would be a good topic, Claudia.
I love it, Dawn. I love it. I love it. I think that you shedding light to this topic, hopefully it'll resonate with several of the listeners, right? Because I think in society now, it almost feels like we need more of that and we need to promote it more, right? So
Yes.
I really appreciate you bringing this up. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. I mean, and I'm sure if you're listening, you're like, okay, what do you mean? How do you
Right?
do that? You know what I mean? And like I said earlier, it's not it's more than a feeling, you
Mm-hmm.
know.
Mm-hmm.
It's knowing your self-worth. It's
Mm-hmm.
practicing self-compassion. It's
Mm-hmm.
setting healthy boundaries. You're
Mm-hmm.
celebrating your achievements. Like I feel that we don't do that enough. You need to do it before and after, or when you achieve it, you know what I mean, and after,
Yeah.
right? And
Right.
then it's all about nurturing your mind, your body, and your soul. Because the
Mm-hmm.
more connected you are with yourself, the more in tune
Right.
you can be, right? And then of
Right.
course, always surround yourself with positivity.
Mhm.
Forgive yourself is so big. I think we are
Mhm.
so hard on ourselves. We are, our harshest critics, right? And then
Yep.
to be authentic, live your
Mhm.
authentic self. And I think, that's a whole nother episode, but
I couldn't agree with you more. I think that, just because if we think about it, right, Don, we hear this jargon or phrase thrown out, self-love. Okay, what does that really mean? But I think we really have to dig deep within ourselves and understand that self-love and appreciation could mean, different things to different people, but I think ultimately it's a state of appreciating yourself, right?
Mhm,
So starting with you, how do I appreciate me so
mhm,
that I can then reinforce the love that I feel for myself?
mhm.
And I know this is very cliche to say, but it's true when they say that in order to love others, you need to love yourself first, right?
Exactly. Yes. And you can't be in a relationship, whether that's a friendship or a loving relationship, like with a companion. You can't, I'm sorry, not successfully if you don't love yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's not cliche, yeah. But
Yeah.
it's interesting sitting here thinking, and
Yes.
think about it. In your 20s, self-love is different, Claudia. In your 30s,
Absolutely.
each era of your
Yes.
life or each chapter, however you want to compartmentalize it or whatever, but
Right.
however you want to break it up, it's different because when you're young, if you don't know your worthiness, if you don't love yourself, ooh, you're gonna have those trials and tribulations, you know what I mean?
Right.
With yourself, with your relationships, right? Then in your
Yes.
30s, they say you tend to like, okay, you settle down a little more, then you want to, root yourself, right? So
Mhm.
self-love even at that age is different than when you're 40, 50, 60, right? Like, so I really feel this conversation can reach any
Mhm. Mhm.
age demographic.
Absolutely. No, and I think that's a good point to bring up because sometimes when we say self-love and you look into the age that you are and you think, well, I've already lived a long life. Like, why do I need to implement this practice of self-love? but it doesn't mean that. It means that at different stages, like you said, of your life is going to, self love is going to look different, right?
Yes.
Even then, because we continue to go or walk the journey of different experiences that help shape us, right? Then in turn helps us realize, wait, I need to do a little more self exploration and find ways to appreciate myself,
Yeah,
right?
and think about it. We change too in each era, right? Like that's
Mhm.
another thing, right? So we either learn more about ourselves or dislike things about
Right,
ourselves, right? So too, don't forget that we're always evolving where we usually whether you want to or not, right? In a good or bad way, right? So
right.
I think, and this is going to go back to self-awareness, looking in that
Hmm.
mirror and reflecting,
Hmm.
but I can tell you, I remember, so in my histology world, that was
Hmm.
my first job out of high school, and
Okay.
I'm still currently in that field. So I was always the baby and the youngest,
Hmm.
obviously. No, I shouldn't say that, but it really was an older age type of profession. And there was only like maybe two ladies out of
Hmm.
20 that were like so happy in their life, the rest were not. And I used to think, oh my God, I don't want to be like that. I don't want to get like that. So when you just said what you said, I actually think it matters the most the older you get, because I think we get harder on ourselves and we get jaded and things happen, and then
Yeah.
it's hard to find that happiness, right? It's
Yeah.
hard to change our ways, right? So again, if you're young, you want to be aware of that to not get there. And then if you're not, and we are a little wiser,
Yeah.
then we should use that wisdom and take a minute to self-reflect, because it does matter. Like
Hmm.
you only have so much more time, and time, you can't buy, can't
Right.
get back, you can't
Right.
pause it. You know what I mean? Like, and it's not promised, right? So
Right.
why not live what you have left the happiest it can be?
Hmm. Yeah, and I think that's a really good point too that you're making there, Dawn. In that it's almost like, at least from my own experience, is the older I get, the more I'm finding what self love means to me at this point in
Mhm.
my life.
Mhm.
It's like I'm taking more appreciation to that, and I wonder if all of us took that time, and of course we all have to transition through that as time need be to be, but I think it's so important, right? Because this is progressive. It's not a, okay, in your 20s you're going to figure out what self-love is. No, it's progressive, and throughout those different domains of your life, your experiences, the stages that you experience, go through. So I think that's a great point, and the older we get, I feel like it almost feels like I appreciate it more. And I'm really, really, in hopes that we get the message across today, is that others do feel, okay, it doesn't matter the age that I'm in. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter the experiences that I've gone through. Is I still have the opportunity to keep exploring that and expanding that for myself.
Mhm.
Right.
It's true. And it's
Mm-hmm.
so true. I was going to say something and lost my thought. That happens. That
That's
happens.
okay. I know. It'll
No,
come back.
honestly, I have so much to say, you guys. Like, I just feel like, and I'm excited, and I just really want to encourage people, to really, take that time. I think this is what I was going to say. Like, I hate when I talk to people and I hear, I don't have the time. I'm so busy. I'm sorry. So is everybody else, right? So you have to live more intentional. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have to set your intentions, and
Yeah.
you have to take those few minutes to yourself, check in with yourself,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and it's so funny, a little off subject, but I swear I do this every time. And again, it is the life coach in me. But when something bothers me that someone else does,
Mm-hmm.
I sit there and say, okay, Don, why does that bother you? Like, why are you giving that energy? Why are you giving that life? Because it is not serving you, girl. Me talking to myself.
Right.
you know
Right.
so I feel that's one way. I think that you can do that on your own, right? Like,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
especially when it comes to work, because most of us do work, right? So when you're at work and you're just so triggered and bothered by somebody, why, right? Like, because I hate to see people unhappy, but I really do believe happiness is a choice,
Right.
and success is the reward, honestly,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
so I think that people take time for granted, and you're not intentional enough. And I think that when I hear I don't have time for this or for that, like, but why? Sit in and look at how you're spending your days and your time, And I think if, if you think of it from, worthiness or what's important to you, what you value, when you break down how you're spending your times that way, I
Hmm.
think you might change what you do on a daily basis.
Right. Yeah. And it ties back to, I think, valuing your self-worth, which is practicing self-love. When we're more intentional and we stop, like you said, stop in that moment and ask yourself, why is this person on my last nerve? Or why is this person's
Hmm.
words cut so deep? If
Hmm.
why am I investing in all this? And really checking in with yourself, within yourself, and figuring, okay, what, identifying why that is, and saying, you know what, is this serving any purpose for me? It's
Hmm.
not. It likely isn't. Okay, so then I need to move away from that, right? I need
Hmm.
to value my self-worth more so that I don't allow other people's, I don't know if you want to call it negative energy, or just,
Hmm.
things that they share that are so heavy that you don't wish to take in. You don't have
Right,
to take in.
right. No, and I know that what we're saying is easy when I hear you say that, and I do
Hmm.
that. But again,
Hmm.
it's that mindset of, okay, I'm going to be intentional, and I'm not going to let that bother me. I'm not going to take that in. Like, you just have to be intentional and tell
Right.
yourself, nope, not we're not going there, you know? But I think that when it comes to like practicing self-compassion, right?
Hmm.
I feel that if you can treat yourself with kindness,
Hmm.
understanding, especially during challenging times, okay?
Hmm.
Embrace your imperfections
Right.
as a part of what makes you your beautiful self, right? If
Right.
you can do this, you should
Hmm.
start that way, right? But I feel that the more you do that, guess what? You're able to do that for others,
Right. Right.
right? So treat yourself with kindness and understanding. I
Hmm.
think when
Hmm.
you can do that, it's so much easier to give that grace to someone else.
Absolutely. And along those lines is that, we all have like an infinite amount of energy, right?
Yes.
So we have to ask ourselves, okay, am I willing to deal with this negativity or this emotional draining situation, relationship, whatever? That's going to only deplete that bit of energy that you're trying to, or should go to you, right? The
Mhm.
investment, the emotional investment to yourself. And that comes first. This is prioritizing you first. And it's not being selfish. It's not, because some people may consider that like being selfish. No, on the contrary, you're investing yourself so that those relationships that are meaningful to you are going to last because
Mhm.
you're investing in you first. And
Yeah,
what you put in is what you give out, right?
exactly, right? And self-love is not selfish, as you just said. It's essential for your overall well-being and
Hmm.
happiness,
Hmm.
everybody. Okay? It
Yeah.
isn't selfish. It's
Yeah.
essential. And the more happier you are with yourself inside, it's reflecting out, and then it's contagious. And then again, you can give that to someone else, you know?
Yeah. So it's just essentially what I'm hearing you say is you treat yourself better. You're
Yes.
more likely to engage in activities that are going to make you happy,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Rather than exhausting that energy on relationships and situations that do not bring you joy, that don't bring you peace,
Hmm.
right?
Yep. And if it's something that you feel you can't do, especially like with your immediate surroundings, right? What you
Hmm.
To protect your energy and your well-being, set the boundaries then,
Hmm.
right? But
Hmm.
boundaries that honor you, your needs and your values,
Right.
not someone else's. So if that's saying no when it's necessary, then say no so that you can have that time or that energy to do that self-care,
Hmm.
right? And
Hmm.
that, I'm sorry, is not selfish.
Hmm. No, no, because when again the investing, you should be you were creators of our own happiness, right? Either we
Mhm.
have the ability to choose to go down that path or not, but self love is going to lead to better happiness, better relationships, self acceptance, self
Mhm.
esteem, self awareness, kind of everything that you're saying. And you said something earlier, self forgiveness,
Yes.
right? Sometimes it's so hard to let go of that. And we guilt ourselves or we feel shame around certain decisions that we've made. We're not looking for perfection here,
No.
right? We're looking to establish a better, what is it? A better version of ourselves.
Hmm.
That's all,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah. And it's funny that you said that because I was going to say that earlier. Thank you. That's probably one of the things I forgot. So, working with the older people, okay, you have to understand when you're 18, the next
Mhm.
person was 26. Those
Mm,
8 years when you're 18 and 26, that's big because
difference,
I'm not old enough. I'm not 21. Do you know what I mean?
right?
So imagine I'm 18, then the next youngest person was 26. After that, oh please, they were all the way up to 70. Like I really
Hmm.
did work with a lot
An
of older
array of
people.
ages. Yeah.
Yes,
Hmm.
and let me tell you, like it helped me. It's funny. Oh, you know what's interesting? I have to share this. So
Hmm.
remember, if you guys have been listening to any of these, it probably comes up in every episode. Who knows? I was a product of baby having babies, right? So I didn't have that in a way. Like I didn't really have that guidance that I should have had. But don't get me
Hmm.
wrong, like, I learned a lot of things from my dad that really made me who I am today, but I still didn't have that daily role model or that parental figure. So what was so ironic is I get a job and end up in a field where there's nothing but moms and dads and older people, and it was just
Wow.
so cute because they really did take me like under their wing and saw me as like their child and really did help. And that's a whole nother episode, but seriously, but
Hmm.
I just remember how funny every single different job I had in that world was always I was the baby for the longest time. And then I'm like, it started shifting where I'm like, wait, I'm not the youngest. So I'm like, oh, anyways, off subject. But um I just remember all of them always wanting to tell me, don't do this, be conscious of this, like, telling me their regrets, right? And
Hmm.
telling me things that, they wish they would have done differently. And I mean, that was as much as you don't want to hear it, it was very valuable to me, right? Because it made me more aware of, oh, I need to be more, thoughtful. Like I need to put thought into that, right? So,
Right.
but at the same time, it's so sad because I'm like, wow, I don't want to live like that. I don't want to live with all that regret and looking back and like not being happy with this or that. And so
Hmm.
I can just tell you by nature, like I tend to love myself and try and, and not think of myself that way. But too, then now that makes me want to be that person, right? Because I didn't have
Hmm.
that person. So that ties
Yeah.
into the life coaching and even this episode. But I do remember like, and it's funny, like one time a coworker told me, do you know, John, for years I had such guilt working in this field because it typically would be graveyard, right? And trust me, I started
Oh,
graveyard for many years.
it's rough.
And so she
Hmm.
says it was so funny because for her husband's snoring was so annoying and she hated it. And we all do, when our spouse did that, right? But do you know later in life, her daughter told her, and it made her feel bad, even though it wasn't to make her feel bad. Her daughter told her,
Okay.
I found comfort in dad snoring because I knew you were at work and
Oh,
his snoring made me feel, it gave me comfort, like, someone is home, like,
someone is
he's
home.
there. And so it made, I'm like, why does that make you feel guilty? Like it shouldn't make you feel guilty. I said it's okay that she found comfort in that. Like so,
Mhm.
I remember, and I was in my mid 30s when I was talking to this person and she was about to retire, and so like she's reminiscing thing, and so it's funny when certain people would share those things with me. I
Yeah.
like to think I was able to help them not take it in as negative, right? Because I'm like,
Yeah.
why is that negative? Like it's the fact of life. You had to work, that's what it was. And
Exactly.
so it's okay that she found, I think that's cute that she found comfort in her dad snoring. Like, but it's funny that little things that as parents that weigh on
Yep.
us. And it's
Right.
like you're taking that, but she's not, like, don't carry that. She didn't mean to deliver it that way to make you feel bad because you worked at night and she knew you weren't home, right? But
No.
I just feel we take that on, and this is where I want us to be kinder to ourselves and to forgive ourselves. Like I don't want to take that into my elder years.
Right. Wow. I like that. I like that you shared that because your coworker didn't realize that as much as annoying the snoring was to her, it was something more meaningful to her daughter,
Yes.
right? And who
Mhm.
would have thought that? It's those little things that we don't realize sometimes that are around us where I don't want to say, I don't know that we could take snoring for granted, but but you know what I mean? Like certain things that you realize, gosh, that is so irritating about this person. And it could be so meaningful to someone else. And you don't realize until, of course, it was her time. She had to realize that, I don't know, 10, 20 years down the line for her daughter to say, no, mom, that was very meaningful to me. It made me feel safe. And I think I appreciate you sharing that because it's those little things that we should pay attention to.
Right, right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but too, I think if, you know, to shift it a little bit, but it's like,
Mm-hmm.
I think if you surround yourself with people who uplift you, support
Mm-hmm.
you,
Mm-hmm.
it'll be easier for you to let go of the toxic relationships and environments that drain your energy.
Yeah. Wow.
And I know that's hard because, as many friends as I have, and I have many, and they're good friends, they're not acquaintances.
Right.
There's many I don't have anymore, and it's because I'm sorry, like it's if I walk away from you and my energy is sucked away, I can't
Mm-hmm.
no more with you.
Right.
Like I literally set that boundary, and
Right.
I think people need to do more of that too. And lately, I've been hearing more, and it's I don't want to say it's sad. It's just unfortunate that people don't have a community, people don't have friends, like, and I know when you get older, like you get busy with life, and your circle tends to get smaller, but it
Right.
doesn't matter how big that circle is.
Mhm.
But I do
Exactly.
find that there's not a lot of community out there. Like I
Mhm.
remember a couple weeks ago, maybe 2 months ago, I don't know, every Sunday I do a TikTok live with certain friends of mine for our affiliate marketing,
Okay.
doesn't matter. But every
Yeah.
every Sunday at 8, right? And some guy came on and he was like, "Can I, like, in the little messages, you all have beautiful smiles." It was me, another girl, and another guy. And we really did.
Uh-huh.
I was like, "Yeah, I agree with you. Thank you." We were
I
all
appreciate the
so
compliment.
smiley.
Yes.
And so he's engaging with us, going in and out, whatever. And so he finally said, "Wow, like you guys are here every Sunday?" We're like, "Yeah." And he's like, "This is the first live on TikTok that I've been on that has been so positive and uplifting." And I was like, "Really? That's so
Ah,
sad. Like, what?" And he's like, he said he shared that he had ADHD, and it's hard for him to find that community. It's hard for him to
mhm.
find a safe space, and I said, "Well, that's exactly what we created Sundays at 8, was a safe space for people to come on, to feel inspired, to be uplifted,
Mhm.
to
Mhm.
share our win of the week, you know what I mean, or our struggle, or. So we were, the two other people are a cohort that I was in with, but we decided
Mhm.
to stay together. And so
Okay.
I just thought, wow, that's sad, but I'm glad we can provide that to you. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
so I am thinking about creating like a Facebook community, because I feel that's a big thing on Facebook. It's funny how different platforms have different
They do.
different
Different groups.
yeah,
Yeah.
like different
Cultures to that
thank
platform,
you,
right?
yes, right.
Mhm.
So Facebook is really good for that. So I'm thinking on creating like a Facebook community so that we
Mm.
can provide a safe space for people to connect, right?
Right.
And so I would like to do this virtually and in person. So we'll see how that works out. But I mean, I really want people to really, try to, be more mindful of your surroundings, And unfortunately, sometimes that even means family. Like I'm sorry, you guys. I'm not trying to offend anybody, you can't choose your family members.
Right.
So,
Right.
either if you work that out, if you can't, it is what it is. Like you
Mhm.
really got to have that, you know, support. And whether
Right.
that's selective family, as I call it, people that I select as my family members, or if it is, blood related, that's fine. But you really
Right.
do got to surround yourself with that positivity, because
Mhm.
I don't want my energy drained, not for
Right.
negativity, anyways.
Absolutely. And again, it goes back to the beginning, right, where we started. This whole conversation is practicing ways to not be a better version of you, not be a, excuse me, not be a perfect version of you, but be
Yeah.
a better version of yourself,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And it starts with these conversations and listening to conversations like topics like this, or, like you said, hopefully if you designate this community that you're trying to start, I think we need so much of that,
Hmm.
Dawn. There's
Hmm.
so much of it that we're lacking at the moment. And, I appreciate this conversation because it hopefully will resonate with people. right?
I hope so, because you have to embrace your imperfections, because guess what?
Yeah,
We all have them.
we all do.
But you know what? That's what makes you uniquely you,
Yes.
and it doesn't have to be negative. Do you know
Right.
what I mean? Like, and like we were kind of discussing before we talked up, like before we started recording, is, I think we do get caught up with the whole social media thing, and wanting
Mhm.
to mimic or have what someone else
Mhm.
has, or you know that I think that's a whole nother topic. But I really
Right.
think people need to remember, even for myself, like what I post is what I want you to see and show you.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like, and so I want to pour in that positivity. So that's what I'm going to come with. Right. But like, you have to remember, but like on people personal, like, they're going to show you what they want. Like, that doesn't mean that that's what it is. So you
Right.
shouldn't compare. Like, and I feel, I posted about this today. Stop comparing. There's no comparison. Like, we
No.
shouldn't be, comparing anything. Right. Like,
Mhm.
my self worth, I don't want my self doubt or comparison to be reflected on my self worth.
Right. Oh, that's great. I love that. And that I think is huge, because that's the part where, because I mean, as wonderful and amazing as social media could be, there's some great benefits to it. There's
Mhm.
also a lot of disadvantages and a lot of loopholes that we as a society get caught up in, right? We get sucked into believing that life has to look a certain way, and that if it's not a certain way, then something must be wrong with us. Something
Mhm.
must be wrong with me. Something must be wrong with my family. No, because like you said, you only put the highlights of
Mhm.
what that is. And um, yeah, I think, and like you said, I think that's a whole nother segment
It
of
really is.
something else. But
Right? But yeah, I mean, and like even success, like it's everyone, that success is defined by the individual,
right.
because it's different to everyone. Like it was nice of my brother-in-law, I think today or yesterday, was like, man, like I really enjoy what you put out. I'm really surprised. Like, it's not picking up more or something like that. And I'm like, what do you mean? I'm like, I do this because I want to. Like, believe it or not, this is a form of therapy for me. Like,
Hmm.
I enjoy pushing out my positivity. I enjoy uploading these episodes,
Right.
to share them. But at the end of the day, this is for me. And I
Right.
appreciate that. I said, but I have faith that I believe that what I'm doing is what I should be doing.
Right.
And my end goal is not to be famous or to be, whatever in his mind he thought, like, like, oh, to be up there more. I think what he was, I know what he meant, but I think he was just like, oh, you can get sponsored. But that's not what I want. And that's not why
Hmm.
I'm doing this. But I appreciate that. And I said, but,
Right.
it takes time, and it's
Hmm.
patience and consistency. I think I've told you we're in Australia, we're in Germany, Canada,
Yes.
as well as the United States. Like, to me, like, after my first upload with no
Right.
listeners, I already felt like I succeeded. And these are the things where you accomplish, like you celebrate your accomplishment. You know what I mean? Like, oh, it's uploaded, it's official. I have a podcast. I don't care how
Right.
big, I did it. Like, so I feel that you have to celebrate these things, right? So I appreciate the sentiment, but honestly, to
Hmm.
me, this is already a success. And
Absolutely.
because I love me and love what I'm doing,
Right.
I'm good. Like,
Well,
and I,
you manifest this by
Mhm.
even saying that. The fact that you, going back to your example, I put my first recording out there. That in itself is a success. Absolutely, because a lot of us don't. We prevent ourselves through our fears to not take the next step, and we
Mhm.
don't end up where we really, really, truly want to be.
Yes,
So we have to celebrate those small wins, Dawn.
yes, right. And then
Hmm.
remember, like, there's never a perfect time for anything,
Right. Oh, that's for sure.
right? Don't ever think, oh, I'll do it when I'm ready. Like, I'm just thinking
Mhm.
of things in my head. You have to understand, there's so many things I want to like just blur out to you guys, but I just think when it comes to like self-love too, like you're worthy of success, happiness, everything you desire. You
Right.
just have to want it and find it within. Like, you need to do it, like, don't wait for the time, don't wait for the moment, don't wait for the person, like, don't wait till this feeling. I mean, there's just so much, but oh yeah.
Oh,
So
I love it. I love it. This is great conversation. I'm like,
oh,
I think I want to say I right now, sorry, going back to a little bit to what you had talked about where some suggestions were made and whatnot, I came across a really nice quote. It said, don't, your, what others think about you is not your business.
No.
And I love that. And it's so true. And we get so
Mhm.
caught up in that. We fear what
Mhm.
others are going to think of us, what
Mhm.
others are going to say, what they're going to suggest. That is not my business.
No. And you say it nicer because I would say it's not my problem. So she says it a lot nicer than me.
Same thing.
I would
But yeah,
say that is
we're saying
not
the
that's your problem, not mine. Okay. So
same.
yeah.
Exactly.
But ultimately, remember, self love is not selfish. It's essential for your overall well being and happiness. I want you guys to start each day with a commitment to loving yourself more deeply. And I promise you, if you do these 8 things, which is know your self worth, practice self compassion, set healthy boundaries, celebrate your achievements, nurture your mind, your body, and your spirit, surround yourself with positivity, of course, forgive yourself, and be authentic as you can be, live in your authenticity. If you try those things, I promise you, watch, sit back, and see how it transforms your life,
Ooh,
right?
love that.
Be
Oh, I
true
love
to
that.
yourself, live in alignment with your values, your passion, your dreams, embrace your authenticity. It's a powerful expression of self love, you guys, if you can do that. So try that and let us know how that worked out.
Awesome.
Until next time, keep shining, keep conquering, and keep thriving.